to the Social Angle, a podcast that helps promo pros gain an edge in the social media realm. I'm Vinny, and on this episode, I am joined by Taryn Estrada, social media specialist for top 40 supplier Alphabroder, to discuss what it's like being new to the promo industry, some of the challenges she's faced so far, what's in store for Alphabroder's social media game, and much more. Taryn, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. Super
Absolutely.
excited to be here.
Yeah, before we were talking, I found out that you and I are actually we live not too far from each other. Alpha Broder has offices right in ASI's neck of the woods, which is
Yes,
Trevose, Pennsylvania. So yeah, it's exciting. It's a beautiful day. I know you live in Philadelphia, but
gorgeous.
beautiful day. Our weather in the Northeast today is, if I could package this and sell it, I would. This is like 75 degrees, beautiful skies, no humidity. Awesome. And
This is making me regret filming inside. I should be outside today.
well, yes, but when you're outside, you never know what's going to happen. Birds flying around, airplanes overhead. So
That's true.
probably better to be inside. So we have a great conversation set for today. I'm introducing Taryn to the industry. You're brand new, but before we get into the questions, can you tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, what you do, and how you got into the social media game?
Yeah. So my name is Taryn. I am the social media specialist at Alphabroder and Primeline. I've kind of always been within social media ever since I graduated college. Every one of my career paths and jobs I've taken always had a social media aspect to them. And so I knew I would love this, and I was searching for this, and it's been great. It's I'm brand new to the industry, so it's a lot of learning curves, but we're getting there.
So how long have you been in the industry?
In the industry, 5 months.
5 months. So you have no prior knowledge of the
I had a
promotional
little bit of knowledge. I'm not going to say that I was completely a newbie, but working, directly in a company, yeah, brand new.
Okay, so and what is your background in terms of like college? Did you do social media in college?
No, I graduated with a degree in painting at FGCU in Fort Myers,
Okay.
Florida. Went on to work at a fine art gallery, built up their social media. That's kind of where I fell in love with it. It's like, this is awesome. There's so much potential. This is where the future is, and I felt like I was good at it. And then I moved on to working at a large corporation called Bender, and then a boutique digital marketing firm where I did all sorts of digital marketing, but also included a lot of social media.
So you
So
didn't go to school for social media.
I did not. I
Okay,
did not.
so it's fascinating to hear the stories of people in this industry, and as you build up more relationships in this industry, you're going to find a lot of people who are in it have, you know, they didn't go to college or they didn't expect
Right.
to be in the promotional products industry. One, they didn't know it existed. Just like myself, I've
It's
been in,
new.
yeah, I've been in the industry for 15 years. I knew about promotional products, but I didn't know there was this massive industry behind it. I went to school for journalism. uh, you know, the older, Gen X, boomers, obviously they didn't go to college for social media because it didn't exist,
Yeah.
myself included. But I like to talk to younger generations about, social media because they do now have that as, part of the curriculum in colleges. And there are people that certainly go into,
Right.
college wanting to do social media. So you're somebody who didn't go into college thinking they were going to do social media.
No, I mean, in my college degree, we were taught how to promote ourselves as
Mhm.
artists and to sell ourselves. So there was a lot of selling involved, which at the end of the day, being creative and knowing how to sell is kind of social media.
Right, right.
So it went hand in hand. There's so many other tools out there too to teach you.
Mhm.
Um, Even the like sending posts out, those type of tools will have classes. The internet is where you can learn a lot
That's
too.
right. Just not
Everything's on the
everything.
internet.
Everything's on the internet. So let me ask you this: what attracted you to the position, and what are your impressions of the promotional products industry after 5 months?
So I was looking for a few things. I wanted a big company. I wanted to work in social media, and I wanted something really new for me. And it checked all the boxes. And then so far, I've been loving it. Honestly, I got thrown right in there. My first month, I was at Alphabroder's open houses and trade shows and everything. So if you didn't know about an industry and then just getting thrown into shows, you learn a lot, and it's been a really good experience.
Yeah, and it's funny because immersion is certainly
Yeah,
a great way to learn something. And I'm a big believer in, if you want to learn a language, you got to learn. You have to immerse yourself in it. You have to live where people are speaking it.
right.
And if you're going to learn this industry, you want to be in the thick of it and going to shows, learning what's going on, and how promotional products are a huge part. It's the lifeblood of this industry. But to see
Yeah,
how suppliers interact with distributors, and who interact with end buyers, it's certainly a great way to learn this industry. Which is a great segue to my next question. You know, Challenges of coming into an industry that you don't know anything about, or
right.
very little, and being told, okay, you're our social media specialist. We want you to start doing social media. What were some of the challenges that you faced when you first started?
Well, I had to learn a lot,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, it's kind of to the bones of what social media is and how can you apply it to that company or to that industry. Um, so I just had to kind of learn what they needed and how I could provide that. So it's a B2B business for us. So that
Hmm.
was a little different than the typical B2C
Sure.
business. So that was a learning curve. But other than that, the challenges really hone down to social media. So
Hmm.
learning every day there's a new change. TikTok could collapse tomorrow.
Right.
LinkedIn could, you can't put links or something. Like
Right.
there's
Right.
new changes every single day, and that's will always be the main challenge. But I mean, learning is
Right.
I'll be doing that forever. So
Right. And I think you touched upon social media. You have to be on the front lines and the
you
trends
do,
of what's going on in social media,
yeah,
so that you can apply what's changing to what you're doing as someone who's doing social media for a promotional products company. But also, you have to understand the industry itself and who you're
yes,
speaking to from the perspective of the business. And
right,
I think that's a big challenge in B2B. You have to understand who is your audience, who's your target audience, who are you speaking to, because it's you talk about B2C, you're not speaking to the consumer or the user of promotional products. You're speaking to another potential business owner,
yes.
who you then it's a challenge to me. So have you used any educational resources to understand the dynamic in this industry, the business model?
I will have to give a huge shout out to my colleagues, honestly. I joined an awesome team. I'm learning from them every day. I probably annoy them by now with all the questions I ask, but not necessarily tools. It's really just having a really good team and a really good surrounding yourself with people who really understand the industry so that it's continuously a conversation with me. How am I doing this the right way? How do I approach this? What have you done in the past? And just communication with your team. That's my go-to.
Yeah, and I think there's no better person in an industry to lean on than your colleagues, especially
Right.
ones who have been in the industry for a long time. And I learned a
Yeah.
lot from the people that I worked with over time. And it's certainly that's helpful. There's educational material in this industry. Like I think about uh, the you know the editorial in this industry. ASI certainly has a lot of editorial
Yes.
that helped me through understanding who we're speaking to,
Mhm.
who is reading Counselor Magazine or Advantages Magazine. These are the people that the end buyers, promotional products. Like, to me, it's something that helped me understand a little bit better how this industry worked. So it took me a long time to understand this industry, because when I started in 2007, we didn't have the resources that we have today. So it was kind of like sink or swim, thrown into the deep end, and you have to kind of figure it out. But when you're the one who's crafting content and messaging on
Yes.
social media, you really have to know this
Yeah.
industry well. And I, I've made a lot of mistakes on social media, and I'll be the first to admit that, I've written some things where I'm like, oh my God, like it backfired. I got
Oh,
feedback
yeah,
where it was like, no, that's not the right voice. So it trial and error, I figured it out. But, for somebody who's new to the industry today, there's a lot of resources out there, and there's a lot of, potential for you to learn quickly.
definitely. And that
So
trial and error is a real thing.
it is. And look, what's the great thing about social media and, the internet is that if you make a mistake, you can fix it. You could delete something.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, I know there are things that you shouldn't be deleting, but to me, I feel like, yes, you can make it go away quickly and hope
Right,
nobody saw it. So if you make a mistake in 2022, you can always kind of fix it, but you can always own up to it too. You could apologize publicly. Um,
yes, that is
so let me
important.
ask you about um, Alphabroder. Alphabroder is our number two supplier in the industry in terms of revenue. Is there added pressure to succeed because of that?
Yeah, well, of course. In my opinion, there's always pressure in anything that you kind of care about. So I care about this job. I care about it succeeding and being successful. So there's probably more pressure on myself coming from myself.
Right, right.
Um, but yeah, there's definitely pressure.
Yeah, and we talked offline about, there's a lot of people, a lot of independent people in this industry for small businesses doing great things on social
Yes,
media. We don't see too many people, from top 40 companies uh, doing, crazy good things on social
right.
media. I mean, there are, but there are also a lot of companies that don't do much with social media that are top 40. So to me, I think, the top 40 brands in our industry, actually hiring social media people to to do social media specifically is a
Yeah,
good thing. I think that it's important. Social media is not going away, and it's important. It's important to the brand because, you know I've seen too often that they're just throwing somebody to do social media. Hey,
yeah,
we got a
they are.
salesperson who's going to do social media once a week. In 2022, I think businesses should be hiring specifically for social media if they have the resources.
Right. It's much more than that. You can't and you it's not a job that you can throw on someone else that already has other
Right, right.
responsibilities. Because it'll never be successful. They won't be fully engaged and understanding of what's going on.
Now
There's so much to it.
that was done to me in 2009, I think it was. I was hired for something different, and in 2009, that's when businesses were starting to hop on the social media, and my boss at the time said, "Hey, I want you to head up our social media." And I had no idea what I was doing. Some would argue I still don't know what I'm doing, but back in 2009, I really nobody knew what they were doing from a business perspective. You're just like, okay, you're out there just to be out there. But in 15 years, I've hopefully figured some of it out.
Right.
Um,
The strategy, the thought
yeah,
process. Yeah.
analytics. There's so much involved in social media today that it is a full-time job, and I commend anybody who's hiring for social media, as the majority of a position. So let's talk about Alpha Broder's social media game. What are
Okay.
some of the creative ways you've tried to help Alpha Broder stand out on social media?
I should really be asking you that question, right? See if you can tell the difference. No, I'm kidding. So the really main goal is to humanize
Hmm.
their presence online. That's the number one goal. And how we're doing that is lots of humor, staying on trends,
Hmm.
trying to do the trend at the right time. If you miss the trend, that's the worst feeling.
Of course, of course.
Um, and just showing who Alpha Broder is on another level, not
Hmm.
just we sell T-shirts. We're
Right.
we're deeper than that. So
Right, and I like, when people talk about humanizing a brand, when they start to show off some of the employees that are behind the brand. That to me shows that you actually care about
yeah,
the people who work for you. And I've noticed that you have been part of some of the narrative too in your social
Yep.
media game. Um, can you tell me a little bit about how you feel in getting in front of the camera for any type of social media for the brand?
Nervous. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's been fun, and it's my job. So, um, you kind of have to put aside that thought of someone's going to judge you, or I might mess up, or I might look silly. And you just have to go for it, and you have to be yourself. And the camera can tell if you're really
Oh, of
having a good
course.
time and you're confident. You can see that. So, uh, being in front of the camera, I mean, it's kind of easy because I can be my own director instead of
Right.
being behind the camera and I'm saying, "Can you do that one more time?" or "Can you move your body to the
Right.
left?"
Right.
I'm the director, so it's kind of easier almost in
Was
that
that
sense.
part of your job description when you were looking at this job? Did they tell you that you are going to be in front of the camera? You're going to be part of the narrative, or no?
Not necessarily. I kind of offered it,
Oh,
honestly,
okay.
because I explained to them that showing a real person does so much better, like organic photos
Sure.
and videos do so much better than, let's say, something from a catalog. However, we have to post catalog
Of
images too,
course. Of
but
course.
once in a while, showing that human, is does so much better for the brand.
Right. And I think that it's documentary style. Like,
Yeah,
people love documentaries. You like to see the behind the scenes. And I
love
stress this
that.
all the time. Show the behind the scenes. People don't want to see the polished, finished product.
No,
They used to want to see that, right? We talk about catalogs. There's a different way to see the final polished product. Social media should be, how did you get to that polished product?
exactly.
Like, show the people who are behind the scenes, the nitty gritty, the day to day. Those behind the scenes are important to the social media of your game. Like, they're the ones that should really be part of the values of the company, and
Yes,
that to me is so important. And when I go to a social media page and I don't see that, I don't see personality, I don't see culture, I don't see any types of trends. All I see are selling, selling, selling.
yes.
To me, I'm like, they they're not really in touch with what social media should be for a business.
And it's that trust aspect, right? So, can you trust someone who's not really showing a real person or behind the scenes? You can't.
Right. Right. And I to me, I feel like I can tell a lot about a brand through their social media. And not all brands are the same, but if I go to a brand social media and I don't see any of that, to me, it really resonates. I can tell that they have not devoted, the resources to their social media game that they should be by now.
Exactly.
So let me ask you about the platforms that you work on. And now you guys are on most of the social media platforms. Can you tell me some of the ones that you're having success with, and maybe ones that you're not having so much success with?
Okay, so we're having most success with I would say LinkedIn and Instagram,
Hmm.
both for different reasons. Instagram is a place to, show a lot of brand awareness, grow our brand awareness, be silly, do the trends, um, and show off our, brands that we sell. And then LinkedIn has been really successful as almost a communication tool
Hmm.
for our employees and, potential employees.
Right.
It's a great place if you are interested in working at Alphabroder, go check out our LinkedIn. You can kind of see who we are. And then the ones that I'm struggling with is, I guess it might be Facebook because
Hmm.
the audience is so tricky. Social media users, I think majority of them think of Facebook as a place to go talk to your family members, to
Right.
catch up with an old high school friend, but there's really so much more to it. So it's a place where I'm like, who's there? Who's watching us? Who's involved? Um, but again, all learning.
Yeah, Facebook is tricky, and we talk about Facebook all the time. It's a place where people in this industry are having a lot of success
Yeah.
on the groups, The groups are where people in our industry, a lot of industries, are having success connecting
Hmm.
with other people and coming up with relationships, and then, you know, solution providers. They're going to figure out a way that they can do business together. And that is one of the best aspects of Facebook is the groups. Now, when it comes to the pages themselves, I remember back probably before you started doing social media, probably 10 years ago, when there was a lot of reach and engagement on a specific page. But Facebook changed the algorithm so that the personal pages were getting all the reach and engagement.
Yes.
There was a de-emphasis on brands and business pages, because they want the business pages to pay money to get the reach and engagement they were used to getting. Now, I,
Which
I
turn
can
into Facebook ads.
right, and we run the Facebook ads. We'll boost posts because we
Right.
know that if we want to get the reach and engagement that we want, we have to pay for it. Facebook's not going to let us just have that. Now, that makes the business page pretty, I'm not going to say irrelevant, but I will say that it's very difficult to put content on your page and have it
Yes.
do well without actually
Yes.
boosting it. um, Instagram is, like you said, I think Instagram is a great place to show your fun side, humor,
Yep.
trends, but it is also, it's suffering right now. There's a lot of
Oh
algorithm
yeah.
issues. Have you guys experienced that as well?
Yeah, we've experienced issues with our likes. Not, and I've noticed
Hmm.
that before I even applied to Alphabroder. No one really likes anymore. They kind of view and they
Yes.
engage.
Yes.
So they share it.
Hmm.
They post it to their story. They even write a comment. But the likes, no one really feels the
Yeah,
need to show the love anymore.
I know. And it's funny because when you're counting on metrics, people can go and look at something and not like. I remember when Instagram was new. Liking was your affirmation that you engaged with a piece of
Yes.
content, and everyone seemed to do that. Now it's just, you just kind of scroll by, and you don't take an action. A lot of people
Exactly.
complain about Instagram now. I think so many people have migrated to TikTok.
Yep.
Now, I noticed, are you guys, and this will kind of transition to my one of my final questions is, are you guys going to start investing in TikTok? Because I noticed you guys have, I think, one video so
We have
far.
one video. Um, it's definitely a future goal. I mean, I love TikTok. I
Who
think
doesn't?
it's
Even I
so
love it. Yeah.
entertaining. But I want to make sure before we dive fully in that we do it the right way. Um, and I think we'll get there for sure. We have a great group of friends and colleagues at Alphabroder that love to get behind the camera. They'll do any silly video that I ask them to. So I'm not too worried. Um, just it's a future goal.
I like that you're thinking before you're actually doing. And
Yeah.
that's important. I think that that's a huge lesson for anyone who's thinking about doing social media. You shouldn't just do it and then figure out a strategy plan after. I think it's important for you to try to figure out what your strategy is going to be. How much are you going to post? How often you're going to
Yep.
post? What are you going to post? Uh, those are important questions you have to ask yourself before jumping into a social network.
Yes.
Because if you don't have the strategy in place, then you're never going to succeed. You have to
No.
understand what you're getting into. Now, we started our TikTok kind of like a knee jerk a year ago. Um, and from everything that I'm reading now, it's like you should be posting at least once a day, maybe multiple times a day. We don't
Right.
have the resources for that. Like, we're starting to get better. We're trying to do one or two a week. But again, it's challenging. We kind of did the opposite. We jumped in and we were like, okay, like, what are we going to do now that we're there, when it should
Exactly.
be more like, okay, this is what we're going to do first. So there are lessons that I think a lot of people can take, but I do like that a lot of companies in this industry are jumping into TikTok because that's where so many eyeballs are. I admit I probably
Oh,
spend at least an hour on TikTok a day, and I'm like,
I'm
it's
guilty.
it's a time suck. Like I
I'm
just sit there
guilty.
and I'm like, oh my god, half an hour just went by, and how did that happen?
But
But
from a brand perspective, you have to think, What does that mean if someone sees our video and they
Hmm.
scroll by? What does that mean for us? Will that be beneficial? Will that will that bring someone to our website? What are we what's our goal here? Instead of just getting we hit 2,000 views today or something. Yeah, that's cool, but what does that mean?
Right, and that's the $10,000 question. What are you getting out of what's your ROI on social media? And that question could be applied to all your social media. But TikTok, if you want to talk TikTok, is it brand awareness? Are people just saying, "Oh,
Yes.
Alphabroder has that awesome TikTok channel. They're doing great things." And then when people have a problem, they need a solution for it. Oh, Alphabroder. Like you want to stay top of mind, and that's how I
Yes.
look at social media in terms of quote unquote transactions. Like it's hard to look at transactions from a pure like revenue standpoint. But what is social media doing from a brand awareness perspective? From staying top of mind for people to say, hey, ASI Alpha Broder are if you want people to remember you, you want to be where their eyeballs are
Yes. Yes.
constantly. You want to be on social media and doing things that are different than what most people are doing. If someone's posting salesy content, it's noise. You're scrolling
Yeah,
through.
it's noise.
But if you're doing funny videos, and I hate to say it, and you're standing out,
Mm,
boom, people are gonna remember you.
exactly. And you want that, everybody in social media wants their brand when you think of them, you don't go online and type in Google. You go to Instagram or you go to LinkedIn
Right,
and you
right,
type in the brand name.
right.
That's what people that's what you want. So,
And look, the buyers in this industry, all industries are getting younger. They grew up with social media, and that's
yes.
how they search things now. They're
Yeah,
not going to Google. They're going to go to a media network. Like for instance, if I'm going to go to a restaurant, it's like,
exactly.
are you going to go to Google? Are you going to go to Yelp? Are you going to go to Facebook and say, oh, I want to read the reviews on this restaurant? Like there's a local restaurant downtown where I live, and boom, I'm going to go to Facebook and see, oh man, like
Exactly.
there's a bad review here. Like those are the things. And if they don't have a presence, to me, I feel
You're
like
like,
that's going to be a negative for a
yes.
business. Like so,
It is definitely a negative. Why aren't they putting action towards that? Why aren't they thinking this is important?
right. So social media, just even having a presence on Facebook, we talk about the groups being very important, but having a business page too is important. Even if you're not doing much on it, have a place where people can encourage your customers to rate you, um, and when people go there to look at what you're what people are saying about you, hopefully you'll have a bunch of good reviews. So that to me goes a long way. So let me ask you, I want to know what you have in store for Alpha Broder going forward. You don't have to tell me all the secrets, but do you have anything big brewing?
I can't spill the secret sauce.
You can kind of
Um,
tease it a little bit.
well, definitely content and consistency. That's my 2 things.
Okay.
I wanna be consistent in everything, and that goes hand in hand with our conversation about TikTok. If I go full throttle on TikTok, I need to be consistent with it.
Right. Right. I love
Um,
consistency is key.
consistency
I'm
is key. So, and, following the trends and just really exciting stuff. We're traveling a lot next year, so you'll see Alpha Broder on the road
hmm
and much more.
Can you tell me a little bit about hot takes?
Yeah, Hot Takes is our live streaming podcast on Facebook. We
Hmm.
do it bi-weekly with 4 people in our sales team, and really we just talk about anything you can even imagine, but and then also products that we're selling. So it's not like QVC or what's that channel that everyone, shops online on TV. It's not like
QVC.
that
Yeah.
at all.
Okay.
It's not like that. We're going to be telling you and promoting products, but it's really just a fun conversation with awesome people, and it's so entertaining.
I watched. They're like an hour long, so they're an investment. But I was kind of skimming through one earlier, and we talk about culture. We talk about humanizing the brand. All four of the your colleagues who do do hot takes, like they're all engaging. They're all fun. The topics
Oh, they're the
obviously
best.
the topics obviously range from uh, industry specific, products and how to sell them, and then all of a sudden you're talking about timely stuff. Like last week's
Yes.
episode was about
Football.
football season, and I'm like, okay, I'm a big football guy. This is something that interests me, and I listened, and I'm like, that to me is it's timely, it's relevant, it's fun. People go to social media to get away from business, so
Yeah.
you kind of you have the best of both worlds. You have a little bit of business, you have a little bit of fun, and I think when a brand starts doing live streams and doing things like this, having fun, but also providing value in a certain way, I think you're going to have a winning combination. So,
They're
you
gonna
know,
love that you said that.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
that's great.
keep them in mind. I'd love to get on and talk a little football. So Taryn, before we end this podcast, I always end it with a fun question. Can you tell us a little bit about when you're not working, what you're doing?
What am I doing, when I'm not glued to my phone?
Oh,
So so I, dabble in painting still.
hmm.
I run and walk with my dog all the time. Just picked up tennis,
Oh,
really
okay.
bad at it.
Well, if you're
Um,
new to it, of course you're going to be bad at it.
I mean, it's been a year,
Oh,
but you
okay.
could tell that I've only played a year.
Okay. Okay. Do you
So
like it?
oh, I love it. And then the US Open just happened. I was,
Hmm.
like, totally enthralled. I'm like, "This is
And Roger
amazing."
Federer just retired today.
Yeah, today?
Today, he
Wow.
just retired. So,
Well, there
yeah,
you
I
go.
mean, it's a great sport. And you're a runner. You play tennis. You glued to your phone. Anything else?
I hate the fact that I'm glued to my phone. I try to read
Okay,
a lot,
reading's good.
and, the good Netflix binge here
And
and
you're a
there.
native Floridian, is that true?
I am, yeah, born and raised in Naples, Florida.
Now, do you get back to Florida often?
Oh, as much as I possibly can, yeah.
Okay. What do you think about the Philadelphia area?
I love it, but don't ask me that in January and February.
Okay, so you like the warm weather, and you're not a big change of seasons person.
I love the fall, the spring, bring on the
Yeah.
seasons, but when I can't leave my house because there's 3 feet of snow, that's not fun
Yeah,
for me.
you're not on board for that. I get it.
Mm.
Hey, I'm from New Jersey originally, and that's part of my
You're like, "This is the way of life."
this is part of my DNA. It's like I like the change of seasons. I like the cold, but I do like the summer, and I like right now. Today is perfect, and I look forward to fall more than any other season.
Me
I
too.
love the you know the Halloween pumpkins and pumpkin spice. Like bring all that on. I love
All
that.
the fall festivals are the best.
Oh yeah, and I can't imagine doing that in Florida when it's 85 degrees. Like that to me is like, no, I shouldn't be sweating and carving pumpkins. That's not
I
working
know,
for me.
my Christmas morning was 80 degrees.
Oof, oof.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A little strange, but
that is
I didn't know any
strange.
difference.
All right, Taryn. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you, how could they do so?
You can follow Alphabroder at
Hmm.
Alphabroder on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. And you can reach me there. You will be messaging me if you message
Okay,
them. So that's how you can get a hold of me
and
and
that's how
follow
I
me.
that's how I got a hold of you through
That's how you get a hold of me.
Alphabroder's Instagram. So yeah, this has been a great conversation. It's been great getting to know you, and I hope the industry starts to take notice of what you're doing on Alphabroder's social media channels. I think you're doing a great job, and
Thank
I
you.
look forward to seeing what else you're doing for them.
Thank you so much.
All right, for Taryn, I'm Vinny. We'll see you next time on the Social Angle.
Bye.